The Real AI Podcast with Michael Hainsworth is brought to you by Microsoft.
Every parent has experienced that heart-stopping moment of losing track of their child in a park or at the mall, letting them go out for their first night with their friends. As parents themselves, Missing Children Society of Canada CEO Amanda Pick and Microsoft's Anthony Bartolo know that panic feeling well. The good news is most missing children are found, but for those who are not recovered within the first 24 hours, time is of the essence. And for kids with a social media presence, artificial intelligence is being leveraged to comb through their accounts, looking for clues and cues that will help investigators reduce the often month-long process of compiling evidence down to just a few hours. We began our conversation by looking at the numbers.
Well, our CMP at the National Centre for Missing Persons and Unidentified Remains for Canada have just shared the 2020 stats, and last year over 31,000 children were reported missing in Canada.
The biggest challenge right now is that, every second counts when you're trying to find a missing child. And there's a lot of data that needs to be consumed and digested to understand, where the child may be, what may have happened, what may have occurred. Missing Children Society of Canada is a small team, and they have to cover all of Canada, and that's a big challenge. So incorporating services from Microsoft was used to leverage, that data in such a way where it could be a lot better or a lot easier to find that child, or a lot easier to understand the situation, as opposed to taking, the days, weeks, months to understand what has occurred and where the child may be.
Tell me about that panic moment for those 31,000 families.
Well, I think it's hard to describe in its entirety, but what has been shared, and certainly what I've felt even for a moment, when I couldn't see my children at a park, when a child goes missing, it is the panic turns quickly into a fear that you're not going to find that child right away. And if you do find that child, that they're not going to be okay when you find them. And it grips you the moment your child is missing, and that fear, that panic doesn't change until you've found your child safely.
For me, that would be heartbreaking, right? Because, I'm very close to my kids. You're proud of them. You're proud of the moments that they experience. And for that to be taken away from you, like I said, it's heartbreaking. So to do this work, it was something where it was a piece of passion, not for how can we fit technology into this problem or opportunity. It was more so how can we leverage what's available to have impact in terms of finding children.
I suppose if there's at all a silver lining to 31,000 missing children is that the majority of them do get found within 24 hours to a week.
Yeah, that is correct. And so you talk about a silver lining. Yes. I mean, the result of a child being found safely is the reality in many of those cases. But what we know is an emerging evidence tells us that no matter how long a child is missing, they're at risk. And exploitation, violence, there's many things, unfortunately, that our children face if they're not in a safe environment. And so while we want to find a child as, in 5 minutes, and 24 hours seems quickly, what we know is that every minute they're not in a safe place, that's too long.
And I was surprised to learn that compiling a dossier for investigators looking for this missing child can take a remarkable length of time, far more than I ever would have anticipated.
When you talk about an investigation as it relates to finding a missing child, there's just many factors that our police partners face in terms of through that investigation. And so the opportunity that presents itself when the community joins a police service to find a missing child means that they're going to be able to provide information quickly that will help police in their investigation in locating a missing child.
The idea that it could take up to a month to compile that dossier of important information seems like a real missed opportunity, but one that we're trying to resolve using technology. It seems like a lot has changed in your approach to missing children over the 34 years of the program.
Well, our organization has been partnering with police for over 34 years, and it is remarkable how that opportunity of support to police has evolved. So, we have partnered in ways that support the family directly, support the investigation that police are conducting to find that child faster. It's gone from hands-on investigation support by former law enforcement in our organization to utilizing cutting-edge technology as a frontline response support to find that child as quickly as possible. So it's been a tremendous evolution and one that's resulted in more missing children being found and ultimately finding them as quickly as possible.
You've said in the past that people make a difference by seeing information, being in the community, and being able to help. We've come a long way since the days of publicizing missing children on milk cartons and telephone poles.
We really have. And, I've been working on behalf of children and families for many years, and as in my role every day at my organization, but also as a parent and a community member, sometimes I have found it challenging to even think about a child going missing. Then it's also been challenging thinking, how can I help? Like, what can I do? We have now a really powerful opportunity, and one that's making a tremendous difference because we can take an active role in finding that child faster. And I think that is the part that we've been waiting for as community members, is how can our volunteerism, how can we take an active role in finding a child when they are missing and working together to ensure that if a child goes missing, we're all standing there beside police protecting our children.
Has that been the major evolution over the last 3 decades or so? So bringing the community in to play a role in finding that missing child?
I would say hands down, yes. That is the change that has allowed for missing children in our country to be found more often. And so you talk about milk cartons. I think we all, many of us old enough remember or have heard how milk cartons were used in the search for missing children. Posters we still use posters. And in fact, we're actually using a version of a poster through technology, except for how fast we can distribute those posters and where those posters are viewed is really the game change moment. And so if you think about when you see a missing child poster and you think about, that traditional way where people are taking that poster and putting on a telephone pole as an example. Now we have the ability to take that same one poster, and share it with 1 million people in seconds and be very targeted. We can ensure that poster, that missing child case information is seen by the right person in the right spot to help, geographically specific, or we can share that poster across an entire city, a province, or a country. And that's really the moment of change that our work, our partnership with Microsoft, our partnership with police has now brought to Canadians.
So tell me about the partnership with Microsoft and the technology that you're leveraging to help find missing children.
Well, I'm grateful to Microsoft for so many reasons, and the journey that we have had as partners has been over years now. And it started with being introduced to Microsoft, and then Microsoft saying we have the ability to be able to take the technology and the sharing just from one city or one geographical area because of Azure as the starting point to share it across the country. Microsoft brought a belief in the work that we were doing. They empowered our organization, not just from the individuals in our organization, but our effort. They empowered us to take the technology that we were using, enhance it with their capabilities, scale it so that every Canadian that wanted to participate in this effort, and we know all Canadians want to protect children, they gave us the capability to engage an entire country, all Canadians. I mean, it's profound, the partnership, everything that they've contributed, and that has really resulted in saving kids' lives.
How does the technology work?
Well, the Child Search Network is what Azure, as it relates to engaging Canadians, first brought us. The next piece of that was the Child Search Network allows for Canadians to engage with missing children case information in their area, as well as receive information directly from police services when a child goes missing. So we have a data processor that is part of that, which updates case information minute by minute directly from police to be viewed by Canadians. And we have the ability to be able to send that information from an alerting perspective when needed directly to people that have registered via SMS text through MCSC Rescue. So there is technology that has been developed that allows us to have real-time information about missing children in our country that was not available in this way prior to the launch of the Child Search Network and prior to our partnership with Microsoft.
So now you're extending that into the world of artificial intelligence. Tell me about your work with AI-powered tools. You described it as one of the most exciting things you've ever been involved in. How so?
Well, it's I didn't know as much about AI prior to this partnership, and now it's, saying that it's one of the most exciting things. It is, well, one, being able to use AI to save the life of a child. There is nothing more exciting than that. But it really, AI allowed us to be able to assist police and partner and provide information to Canadians that gave us that capability we never had before. So it always required our organization to work directly with police when there was case information that we wanted to share. But through AI, that has actually enabled the system to go out and seek that information from police services and databases across the country, and in real time have it presented to Canadians for them to be able to see who's missing in their area and be able to help. So really, we needed the capability to help police. Instead of police having to provide information to us, AI assisted in bringing that information together. And it's a powerful thing, because the result is this. When a child goes missing, as I said, we need to find them as quickly as possible. AI has enabled that sharing of information, collecting and sharing of information in a way that we never existed before for us. So exciting from a technology perspective to see how it has changed our capabilities and our opportunity of impact, and exciting from a organizational perspective, because it has allowed us to build out a protection of children in our country that hasn't existed. And then exciting as a person and a parent, because the ability to participate through technology, AI, and save the life of a child. Again, I don't know how to describe it any other way, but absolutely one of the most exciting things I've ever been involved in.
So why is artificial intelligence an effective tool for searching for missing children?
The biggest thing is the understanding of the data that's being collected, right? Right now, for the collection of data itself, for the small team that Amanda Pick and team at Missing Children Society in Canada have, it's a challenge to capture and then digest or understand all the information that's being captured. So the use of artificial intelligence like machine learning and cognitive services is the ability to digest the information in such a way that it makes it bite-sized, so that when Amanda and team are going through the scenarios and going through the solution and understanding or reviewing the data, they can come up with a quicker deduction of what's actually occurred and what information needs to go to the police to help find that child.
When it comes to bringing this technology together, trying to understand sentiment within a social media post is very difficult for a computer. How do we solve it?
It's a big challenge. Over 70% of the abductions that occur happen through romantic intent. So the scenario that you have to teach the cognitive services is to understand what is the inflections or what is the word play that's used in terms of romantic intent. Then you have the challenges of, different regions across Canada, different words are used, different intent is used. It's a great learning process that has to be provided to cognitive services to have that type of understanding. There is a rudimentary baseline that's made available, and that's, worldwide in terms of sentiment analysis. But then there's additional flavoring that has to occur specifically for Canada or specifically for any region that's looking to adopt a solution. Then you have to take in consideration bias. The way that I perceive emotional intent or romantic intent could be different from someone else. And so you have to include different facets of individuals' ideas in terms of what romantic intent is when teaching the services to understand and pick that out in terms of the conversation.
So why then is social media the effective source for the necessary big data when it comes to feeding artificial intelligence anything on the issue of missing children?
Right now, social media is probably the largest platform that there's communication and information is being captured on. There is some challenges with that as well, and this is what, the learnings through the partnership with groups like the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, is that you can't just necessarily go out there and access that information freely, right? Even though it's out there in the world and social media has this open-ended conversation between individuals, it's still something that there's permissions and authentication that's required to gain access to that data itself. It's the quickest platform to grab that data, but there is still, rights that you have to adhere to, and there's still security protocols that you have to adhere to, and just, being respectful in terms of the information that's being gathered. So, again, partnering with the RCMP, we learned strategies in terms of getting, the permission of those that, are sharing that information out on social media to be able to digest and understand and capture that information, so it's not just being captured freely. It also provides a venue for when a child is in distress, a great way to quietly notify that they're in trouble. There are applications that are out there, and you pull out this application, you have to load up the app and press the button. Utilizing solutions like hashtags, which is something that's readily used throughout social media to create an alert when something is awry. This is the thought process behind this is how do we make the solution as minimal as possible so that people are tipped off that the child is reporting out that they're in distress, but still have that effectiveness of hey, I need help now. Come and help me. Grab the information and come and rescue me, which is very powerful to do that from, in essence, almost any social media platform that's out there.
Is this not the best use case of social media sharing that any of us have ever heard of? Definitely. Protecting a child through social media and sharing information that way is the greatest amplifier opportunity that exists, I think.
The biggest challenge is we have to respect the rights of those on social media. It's not just a go out there and capture the information. It's something where we've got a solution now that children or the parents of said children can actually sign in to a solution. So it'll register for the solution to have the ability to go forth and then have the information captured once it's been activated by the child or the parent. Now, this is all in proof of concept. They haven't deployed it yet because there's still a lot of regulations involved that Microsoft and local law enforcement is running through in regards to this. But the ability to have this made available was proven out in the proof of concept that you can do this, in that the hashtag, specifically HFM, which stands for Help Find Me, once been submitted to a child's account, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, you have then the ability to then capture that information through the solution and then have that information funneled to the Missing Children Society of Canada to create that dossier on all the information surrounding the child, who they've been communicating with, and the whereabouts of that child as well, for the communications that have occurred.
I would never have expected that social media could have been a source for leads on, who may have taken a child from their family. Things like that. It's just sort of that next level thinking of leveraging AI to look for patterns where I suppose an investigator who's already swamped with so many other cases might not catch.
Definitely. Because we share so readily, because we live online in many ways, and certainly in this particular time period, more so, I think, than ever. Our children, they have a digital identity. Their comfort level, who they are online, that's second nature to them. And so they have conversations online, they're talking to people, and that information exists. So to be able to leverage their children's online time, as well as any interactions, what people are talking about, conversations that are happening, to be able to collect that information and use it for the purposes of an investigation is quite powerful. What it does is provide critical tip information to police that they can action as part of their investigation to find a missing child.
So you may not be a huge computer geek, but I can imagine you can imagine this technology a decade from now. What does it look like to you, and how does it help?
I wouldn't have called myself a tech geek prior to working on behalf of children and working with police. I wouldn't have, but I would say now that I definitely have an understanding of the power of technology and the risks of technology. And we are using technology right now to engage community to protect children. And to partner with police in a way that wasn't possible as it relates to public safety and community protection. I envision a time where the risk that our children face from online predators, from time, them spending such a big part of their lives online, that we minimize that risk online when they are engaging, and that we maximize technology, continue to maximize technology's protection opportunity and impact as it relates to protecting children. I think there's many, many ways to do that. I'm excited about exploring those, launching the Child Search Network and all its capabilities that we've been speaking of. It took a decade to get here. To be able to work with police to fill the gap of response that was left between an Amber Alert activation for a missing child and nothing. Now, the Child Search Network, our partnership with Microsoft, AI, all of the Azure support, everything that we have done has enabled Canada to ensure that when we have a high-risk missing child, we have a response.
If you had to describe your feelings on this project in one word and the inclusion of artificial intelligence in the future, what would that one word be?
One word. That's a hard one. I'm going to have to say elated. I'm just, or surprised, or, sorry, I'm doing more than one word. Just trying to think, my second. It's challenging, I'll be honest, because you feel so excited in terms of what was accomplished.
I see a future where we have no missing children because we've all come together. And I see a future where technology keeps our children safe and protects them by minimizing the risk that they once faced.
Amanda Pick is the CEO of the Missing Children Society of Canada. Anthony Bartolo is the Senior Cloud Advocate for Microsoft. I'm Michael Hainsworth. Thanks for joining us.
You've been listening to the Real AI Podcast with Michael Hainsworth. Subscribe today and visit Microsoft.com/AI to see exciting real-world examples of real AI in use today.